These are the historical trends where we have seen surgery, radiation, combined modality treatment. So we have moved from single specialty treatments to combined modality treatment. That's how we have the team. Cancer is not a disease to be treated by one person. It's the team which is needed for treating any cancer patient. So that is how the combined modality treatment had started. And this is the usual survival. If you could see, the median tumor specific survival was 5 months and the 5-year survival was only 4%. So I just wanted you to remember these numbers. And when we have a recurrent or a metastatic squamous cell carcinoma, the median survival is 103 days, just about 3.5 months. So this was the past. And mostly, if you could see, the red color is stage 2. Stage 2 of any of the diseases, larynx, nasopharynx, sinonasal or oropharynx, they survive for a longer period. But if you could see stage 3, stage 4A and stage 4B, the survival is very poor. So over a period of time, medical oncology had evolved. Are we still using the Nokia button phone? No, we had moved to smartphones. Won't the treatment be in medical oncology will be the same old methotrexate? No, we have moved, we have evolved. We have moved a lot from what we were using in the past. This was the first breakthrough. We know cisplatin is the major and the only important drug. It's still the major and the only important drug, but there is a newer combination called induction chemotherapy, which was tested in about 2004 to 2006 from the transatlantic studies, both in Europe as well as in US. These are the initial trials for induction chemotherapy, and they had shown to be better than cisplatin 5FU alone. Though in many of the community setup, we use cisplatin and 5FU. Right now, for the induction chemotherapy, adding a third drug, which is called as a taxane, definitely makes a lot of difference. So these are the initial studies which had come up proving the role of 3-drug regimen. And initially, way back in about early 2000s, it was even said that these 3-drug regimens were even equal to chemoradiation, but then it was subsequently disproved in further trials. This is mainly to reduce the tumor burden, make the patient, see, most of the time when patients do come in an advanced stage, they have malnourishment, they have pain, they don't eat, they have lost weight, and that particular patient needs to come back probably to their usual weight, usual nutrition, reserves, energy reserves, so that they'll be able to go ahead with further treatment. Just wanted to bring your notice to the distant failures and the local control. That's with the concomitant chemotherapy, where we give low dose of weekly cisplatin along with radiation. And this is induction chemotherapy, where you could see there is a distant failure. I deal with distant failures. Surgeon, radiation takes care of the local disease. I take care of the distant failure. We could see induction chemotherapy has advantage in controlling the systemic disease. So more patients are able to live longer with the use of induction chemotherapy. And how does that help in making a patient go into this OT? So how does my treatment help the surgeons? So usually resection in head and neck cancer, most of our Indian cases do present in an advanced stage. So in those cases, we need to look at whether the patient is operable, borderline operable or inoperable. So up to T4A, we could still operate, but that's going to have a functional loss. So that is what is called as a functional inoperability. When we do have the induction chemotherapy, reduce the size of the tumor, we should be able to help the patient to become operable. And this is how the Indian studies were done. Induction chemotherapy in technically unresectable locally advanced oral cavity cancer, does it really make a difference? Yes, with the 3-drug regimen, which is a taxane, cisplatin and a 5FU, induction chemotherapy was effective in converting a technically unresectable oral cavity cancers in close to about 40% of the patients. So that is really a very, very significant number. And this is again another study where we could see the improvement in the survival also. Patients who were able to go in for surgery, the survival is much better than patients who could not be taken up for surgery, nearly double the survival time. So this is what I deal with. Giving NACT helps in a successful surgical resection and improves the overall survival in patients who are otherwise unresectable. So help the patient get into the OT by giving induction chemotherapy. And there were also studies done in the Indian scenario. So the previous study was from Tata Memorial Hospital, Mumbai, and this is from CMC Vellore, my alumni, where we had proven that by giving 3-drug chemotherapy, which is still possible in our Indian setup, where we do have malnourishment, the other societal problems, still we are able to give a 3-drug combination to our patients and help them have a better survival. And that especially is applicable for tongue cancer. So close to about 85% of the patients with tongue cancer required a lesser resection. So that is possible by giving induction chemotherapy. So overall, this reduces the surgical morbidity, improves the functional outcomes also. So initially we are looking at functional inoperability. So that also helps the functional outcome. And this is a study published from Mumbai where we have the long-term outcomes. So this was a 10-year outcomes wherein patients who underwent neoadjuvant chemotherapy were able to be followed up and were shown to have the 3-drug regimen proving the better outcomes. So survival of patients who have achieved PCR better with somebody who had not achieved pathological complete responses. So when the entire disease is resected and if it is found that there is no disease, those patients are technically having a very long survival. So these are all the data, but we wanted more outcomes. We wanted more patients to be alive. So what did we did? Research incorporated immunotherapy. Immunotherapy along with chemotherapy in the neoadjuvant setting to see if it is helping the outcomes. So these are all the initial studies where we could see 42% of the patients having a pathological complete response rates. And it is a complex way of understanding how the immunotherapy works. Immunotherapy acts by activating our T cells fight against the cancer cells along with the chemotherapy. So this is how the cells. The initial approved study which was published was in New England Journal of Medicine. The drug was pembrolizumab in locally advanced head and neck cancer, wherein I just wanted to look at the final curves getting flattened out. So that means beyond about 66 months. So those are the group of patients who are alive, or probably beyond 5 years. That's what I would like to say. So that's more than about 50%. So when we are looking at the use of the immunotherapy drugs, we look at positivity called a combined positivity score. So when we look at all those things, when it is more, number of patients who are alive are better because immunotherapy drug works better. Subsequently, that was the paper for the global study. We did evaluate for the Asian population, and even in the Asian population, we could see the proportion of patients who are alive are more with the use of immunotherapy drugs. So this was again checked, published, and it was approved in the Indian scenario. 92% of the patients, and you could see the flat line. So that means at the end of say 66 months, 92% of the patients who had undergone induction chemotherapy followed by surgery and subsequent adjuvant therapies are able to live beyond 5 years with technically a stage 3 and a stage 4A tumor. And based on all these trials and evidences, we could see the guidelines approving the use of immunotherapy drug as a category 1 recommendation. So whenever we do have a advanced stage patient, that doesn't mean that that patient is not going to survive. There are ways and means to help them attain a complete or a better life. This is the American guidelines. We do also have few more Chinese monoclonal antibodies. So whenever we are looking at the cost of the treatment, that is also adding up to the burden for the family as well as the patient. So that we call it as the financial toxicity. So to reduce the financial toxicity, we need not necessarily depend only on one drug, which is quite expensive. We can also use the newer monoclonal antibodies which are currently available at 1/3 of the cost of pembrolizumab. So sertolizumab, trastuzumab and toripalimab are the newer molecules which are right now available in India at 1/3 of the cost and also with patient support programs. So with all these, we'll be able to reduce the financial toxicity, and furthermore, even to reduce that part of it, there was a study which was published from CMC Vellore, my alumni, wherein we used low dose nivolumab, especially in the locally advanced head and neck cancer. The dosage was only about 20 milligrams, which is only about 25,000-30,000 rupees. Further less, and still we are able to have a lot of patients who have a very good response, and many sites, oral cavity, oropharynx, hypopharynx and larynx were involved in the study population. And here again we could see the patients having a longer survival. 80 to 90% survival is what we could achieve even with an addition of a low dose immunotherapy, which reduces the cost, which helps in achieving a better, the significant survival, as well as helping the patient go in for the surgical resection. So advanced, locally advanced head and neck cancers which are initially inoperable can also be turned into a operable disease, thereby improving the overall survival also. So it's not that somebody who cannot afford 2.5 lakhs or 3 lakhs, we can still achieve the outcomes by using 30,000 rupees. So financial toxicity can be reduced with the use of an alternate thinking. And we need not look at only the Western literature, we can also look at the Indian literature and use it for our clinical setup. Just to have a clinical case report, this is a 45-year-old gentleman who came with a growth in the left lower jaw with a good CPS score, 65 to 70%. And this patient was started on induction chemotherapy with sertolizumab. This was the patient who had a left RMT tumor. We did the PET scan which showed a infiltration about 4.5 centimeters. Patient was started on chemotherapy. That was prior to induction chemo. This was on 27th of May. This patient is posted for theatre by Dr. Naveen Hedney for tomorrow. Patient did have a complete clinical responses. So this is what we could achieve by giving induction chemotherapy. For this particular patient, the initial plan was a segmental mandibulectomy. And now the extent of surgery is less. So that the cost of the surgical usage in the operation theatre reduces. So overall, the financial burden also reduces. So a surgery which is going to take 4 hours or 5 hours can be completed in 1 or 2 hours. There need not be any fibula or a reconstruction requirement. It's going to be a simple wide local excision. So overall, the functional outcomes, cosmetic outcomes and the survival is also going to be better. So what should we do for somebody who is not even eligible for any concurrent chemotherapy or sensitizing chemotherapy? We are looking at using monoclonal antibodies. This was the study which was published in 2006. So before that, patients who are not eligible for cisplatin or carboplatin will just give only radiation therapy. But we can also add monoclonal antibodies like cetuximab, wherein we can improve the survival. This is a study which came in 2006. And here we could see with radiation alone, 15 months was the survival. With the addition of cetuximab, we could increase another 10 months and overall survival was also improved. So the ways and means of systemic control plays a very, very important role, both in terms of loco-regional disease control as well as the improvement in the overall survival. 86-year-old man who was on a tracheostomy, who couldn't be evaluated for concurrent chemoradiation. So this was the patient who was treated with proton. Jan and March we could see the disease responding very well. So this patient was started on with concurrent proton beam therapy. There were some technical glitches, so 2 weeks of initial concurrent chemo was given, cetuximab was given, and then subsequently was planned for 7 weeks of radiation and 7 weeks of cetuximab for this particular patient. And now we do have the newer trial. Should immunotherapy be used only in the neoadjuvant setting? It can also be used as an adjuvant setting. And this is the phase 3 study design which had shown that addition of nivolumab to post-operative concurrent chemoradiation followed by maintenance immunotherapy had improved the disease-free survival in this particular group as well. Now coming to the disease recurrence. So should we put it as palliative setting or tell it as a prolongation of survival? This is the slide which I showed you in the first, the initial presentation. Median overall survival was only 3.5 months. Patients with recurrent and metastatic setting. But the NCCN guidelines shows that I do have so many combinations of cetuximab, single agent, chemotherapy combinations, immunotherapy combinations, as well as based on the NGS, we can also look at the newer molecules also. So there are newer treatment options available for many patients. So this is another elderly gentleman who was diagnosed with an early buccal malignancy, T2N0, simple post-op, patient was fine. May 2025 disease has recurred. January diagnosis, finished surgery, finished radiation by end of March, the disease recurred in May. Definitely an aggressive disease. The patient lost hope in our allopathic system, went for alternative treatment for about 4-5 months, and then he came to us in September 2025 with a lot of disease. The entire right side was having a lot of disease. So we started with 12 weeks of Paclitaxel, carbo and monoclonal antibody. From September to January, you could see a good amount of disease regression. So this patient was continued with chemo and cetuximab, and for the local disease control, patient had a re-irradiation with SBRT, and subsequently he's continued on maintenance cetuximab alone. Chemotherapy was stopped. Right now, the patient is at least disease-free. So right from last October, 2 months in 2025 and close to 5 months, we are looking at 7 months compared to 3.5 months of survival. We are looking at 7.5 months of survival for this patient without disease in a recurrent metastatic setting. And then I do have my second line treatment and third line treatment and personalized treatment also. So what do we need to do? I'd like to say innovate boldly, care deeply, and never settle for the status quo. Keep thinking, keep moving forward, keep pushing the boundaries, and whatever we had learned today is going to save a lot of lives. That would be the take home message. But nevertheless, though we speak about a lot of advances, it's better not to have oral cavity cancer. So prevention is always better than cure. And as a team, we should be able to improve the awareness for early detection, because early detection definitely saves lives. So thank you so much for your patient listening.